My name is Mark Clark, and I am a board member.
As a board member of the Genesis Joy House, can you tell me about the shelter?
Yeah, Genesis Joy House is a shelter for female homeless veterans. And what we do is take these young ladies who are down on their luck typically for whatever reason, could be a myriad of reasons, and take them in. We have a facility and give them temporary housing and teach them skills, whether depending on their needs, and each one has different needs. And we have somebody who works directly with them on a daily basis. There's schedules to follow. Some of them may learn resume building because they've never done that. Some may learn how to apply to a trade school. Some may take a budgeting class, learn how to use a computer. So there's a myriad of things we do over a short period of time. And obviously the goal is to put them back out into the world with a place of their own, being self-sufficient and contributing members of society, and build their self-worth.
What have you seen with the impact of the shelter helping people?
Yeah, I love seeing the impact. We do have a global outreach, so to speak. Of course, our core competency is the shelter, but we've impacted in a lot of ways, and we partner with a lot of different other charities as well. We have, for instance, a 95% success rate in filing claims with the VA, which is an extremely high rate. We've put in 20,000 plus hours of volunteerism. 35 veterans have transitioned into permanent housing from our temporary housing. We've had food drives. I think about $15,000 in food distributed. Toys for Tots we've participated in. So there's a lot of global outreach that we do with other charities, but in our core competency, we're really at the core helping these female homeless veterans, and it's so rewarding to see them come from where they're at, whether they're homeless or just in a really bad situation that they need to get out of, and then come out the other side with self-confidence and smiling again.
So when I was researching you, I saw a lot about what you do for veterans in your job as well.
Yeah.
How does it feel to help veterans, not only with the nonprofit, but your job?
Yeah, I love serving veterans, and that stems from, I think, my father. My father was a World War II vet. I'm the youngest of six, so obviously he was a bit older when I was born, but he served in the Pacific Theater. And growing up, he would share his war stories with me if I asked him, and I could pretty much recite all of the war stories he told me, and seeing what he went through and how it impacted his life. It's inspiring, and at the same time sad, because I can't say I personally understand it or no, but seeing how the impact on my father, I can see the challenges that some of these veterans have when they come back home, or when they're done with their service. It has a big impact on their life, and some struggle to move back into civilian life, and I can see why. So yeah, it really hits home. I love being able to help veterans get into homes on a permanent basis. Some of the stories are phenomenal. coming from homelessness, or some of them just going through challenges, and then eventually getting to a home. And being in a home, it creates some self-worth.
Yeah.
It's an accomplishment. It's not necessarily easy to purchase a home. So it's very rewarding to see that, and the joy that they have when they're handed that key at the closing table is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a giant confidence booster of
It is.
owning
It
a
is.
home.
It is.
So can you tell me some of the success stories from the shelter?
Yeah, absolutely. Wilma, I say her name specifically because she loves to tell her story. So otherwise, I would not use her name, of course. But Wilma came to us. She was struggling. She had gone through all her savings, and the only place she had to go was her car. And she was taken in by Genesis Joy House, and put through our training program, learned some life skills, and eventually came out with a certification as a chef. And she loves to cook, and she, to this day, I matter of fact, just had one of her meals the other day, and it was fantastic. So she's a great example of a graduate, if I can
Yeah.
say, of the program, and the joy that you can see in her now is truly amazing. And if it's okay, I'm just going to read a couple.
Yeah.
I won't give their names out of respect and confidentiality for them, but one says, there is so much frustration when your brain doesn't work right. You see where you used to be and what you used to be capable of. Now I can't do any of those things. I thank God for Genesis Joy House helping me to become successful. Another, Genesis, it was like God sent me angels. They were the beginning of the end of that dark season for me. And I think it's just as a side note, if you've ever had depression in your life, it's not, you can't just all of a sudden start, oh, well, let's think positive thoughts, and all of a sudden your life turns around. There's a lot to it. And every person's different, and especially if there's trauma involved. So, some of these sweet young ladies have had a lot of challenges and trauma. This was a lieutenant colonel. After combat, it can be very difficult to return to your normal self. It can be a real struggle without the right services in place. Genesis gives veterans a second chance. And I'll just do one more here.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to say, I can't put a roof over my head. Nobody wants to say, I need help clothing my children. At Genesis, we are bringing them to the next level they need in order to be able to stand on their own. So, there's impact on people's lives, and not only people's lives, but I like to say generations, because if they can't help themselves, they certainly can't help their families or their future families. So generations are being impacted by this program and the great work that's being done by the volunteers.
How do you feel when you read messages like that?
It's frankly humbling. I've never been on the street. I've always had, I'm fortunate. I've had a family that has always supported me. If I've ever had a challenge, I've had somebody there. Not everybody has that. And I'm so grateful that we're able to provide that opportunity. Heck, sometimes their own families are their demise. I've seen one off the top of my head here. I'm thinking her own child was was one of the challenges that um, was part of the demise of her finances and challenges in life. And we're helping her learn to budget and be frugal. And you know what? Sometimes say no to family when it's destructive. So yeah, it's very humbling. But at the same point, when they come out the other side, and you see the success that they're having in their life, um, the joy is immense.
How is it working with the CEO, Margaret?
Oh, Margaret's fantastic. In fact, I'll give you a short story how this came to be from my involvement.
Yeah.
Uh, I was on my way to a. You alluded to the fact that I'm in mortgages and I'm a VA specialist, and I was on my way to Dallas for a VA loan event that I was going to be on a panel there at the event, and I'm just sitting there minding my own business, waiting to get on my flight, and this sweet lady comes over and asks if she can plug in her phone and in the socket next to me, and then we get to talking, and her husband's an Air Force veteran, and it happens to be Margaret, and she tells me about her foundation that she's been working on, and it just so happened at the time I'm like, I feel like I need to get involved, like not just like serve a couple hours here or there, but I feel like I really need to get entrenched in a organization, a nonprofit. And so the timing was fantastic, probably not by chance. And she told me about her organization. We exchanged information, and she invited me to speak at one of her volunteer events. And here we are. It was history from there, because her enthusiasm is infectious, and she frankly works tirelessly. Uh, she's been at this for years, and she's really starting to finally realize the fruits of her labor, and it's a joy to watch. She's very inspiring.
So what motivates you?
You know, again, I think it's just the fact that back to really my upbringing, and the fact that it is in combination with what I saw my father as a veteran. As a youngster, I didn't really realize the impact. I heard the stories, but you're young, and as I've gotten older and heard the stories again and again, you see the impact that it had on his life, and the fact that he probably should have had more benefits and been taken care of more for what he went through. And so too often times we see veterans that don't reach out for a myriad of reasons, and some of that can be pride, some of it can be I'm taking from my brothers and sisters who really need the help, which is an incorrect perception, but that's their reality. Or some have reached out for help, and frankly, the system has not done them justice. Right. And so seeing that really drives me to want to help. I'll give you a few, just a few stats to give you an idea why Genesis Joy House exists and why it's focused on the female veteran. That demographic is severely underserved, unfortunately. 1 in 3 experience sexual trauma. Female veterans are 4 times more likely to be homeless than their male counterparts.
Jeez.
Now, of course, by sheer number, male
Right.
veterans, the numbers are going to be a lot higher for male veterans, but from a ratio or percentage standpoint, the female is much higher. Female veterans have doubled the unemployment of male veterans as well as female civilians. It takes a female veteran 3 months longer on average to gain employment when they come back home than the male veteran. So, we can talk about the stats all day long and the studies that have been done, but bottom line is it's an underserved group of people that deserve to be served. They gave their all for us. They chose to sign their name and put their life on the line, but they did it for us. I think the least we can do is make sure when they come back home, they have the resources they need to be self-sufficient in life. We're not out there carrying them for 2 years and they don't have to do anything. They're learning more skills, or they're learning how to cope with some of their challenges so that they can get back to self-sufficiently. It's not a handout, it's a hand up.
Right.
And so it's that those are the driving forces in reality, is that they simply need the service, and they served us.
Where do you want to see the Genesis Joy House in the next 3 to 5 years?
Really just increasing our ability to serve more and more. I mean, we love to say we want to eliminate homelessness in this sector, and if we can help in other demographics, awesome. And the realism is, can we really eliminate homelessness? I don't know that answer, but we're certainly going to give it our best effort and try. And so, yes, we have specific goals, but the bottom line is just to touch more lives and have an impact on each individual. And, we can sit here and say, oh, you'll never end homelessness, or there's always going to be more. But I love the old, the story about the young boy who's on a beach, and all the starfish have washed up on the beach, and he's picking up starfish and throwing them back in the water, and picking up another one and throwing it back in the water. And this old gentleman comes along, and he's jogging, and he stops, kind of wondering what the kid's doing. He watches him for a minute, and then he says, well, son, you're never going to make a big impact. I mean, look at all these. You're hardly going to do a dent in this. And the young boy picks one up, throws it in the water, and says, I just had an impact on that one. So we're dealing with individuals. We talk about going through the program or this or that, but in reality, we're impacting people's lives. And that's the most important thing, is to look at each person individually as a human, and see how we can help our brothers and sisters.